Hi, welcome to the Amp Hour. I'm Dave Jones from the EEV blog.
And I'm Chris Gamble from Chris Gamble's Analog Life.
And if you're paying attention there, yes, we have a new name for the show, the Amp Hour.
And also a new site, too. Don't forget that, Dave.
Yeah, oh, yes, sorry. World Wide Web, the Amp Hour, one word.com. So hopefully easy to remember and hopefully very catchy. It was certainly a pain in the ass coming up with the name, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was. It took a while, but, we got it in the end, and I think it's a good one, and we'll probably catch some stragglers looking for battery specifications or something like that.
That was the hope anyway, yeah. Some, geeks out there who are just Googling, their mobile phone battery amp hour or something, and yep, they'll catch us and they'll get hooked. That's the concept. But yeah, the amp hour works, and if you don't get it, why it's called the amp hour, if you don't understand it, well, you probably shouldn't be listening, I suspect.
Yep. Well, there might be people that catch it and don't know exactly what's going on, but don't want to exclude people.
True. So it's a bit of a play on words. The show's about an hour long, roughly, which is the two shows we've done so far have been an hour long, and this one will probably be an hour long. So we thought we'd add hour on the end, and then we wanted something short and simple that, was a bit of a play on words, and the amp hour sort of popped out. In fact, someone on the forum suggested it. Sorry, I forget was it Mike?
I think it was Mike, from Mike's Electronics.
It was Mike. Thanks, Mike. Yeah. Thanks for the name suggestion. Yes, it was Mike's name was hyphenated, but that's all right. We
you can't leave out the most important criteria, of course, which is there was a .com available as well.
Oh yes, that was quite an effort. We went through a whole ton of names, and we just really had to rule them out based on we couldn't actually buy the .com domain, which was really annoying.
Yeah, we talked about it last time, but that's a big deal these days.
Yeah, absolutely. We're thinking about getting the .fm domain as well, but it's like $80, and I don't think either of us could be bothered, but maybe. Yeah. I don't think anyone's going to snap up the amphour.fm anytime soon, so I don't think it's a big deal.
I don't think anyone's snapping up .fms.
No.
Got $70 laying around or $80 laying around.
Yeah, it isn't a huge amount of money, but just in comparison to a normal .com domain, if you're not into that sort of thing, a normal .com domain is like, $6 or $7 or $5 or something. So, the .fm, who's the country that's behind the FM thing?
It's Micronesia. I forget if it's Federated States of Micronesia.
The Federated States of Micronesia, yes.
Yeah, so FM.
Right, and they're trying to, they've realised that they've got something that sounds interesting, so they're trying to rort it.
Well, there's a couple boutique names out there, but that's one of them.
Yeah. So there you go. It's now called the Amp Hour, and hopefully we'll keep the hour format, and hopefully it'll be about electronics. So far it's been about domain names, so shall we get into it, Chris?
Well, before we do, why don't we thank some of our other promoters out there. We got a nice shout-out from Alan over at hackgadgets.com.
Oh, and, yes, thanks, Alan.
Mention on the Ubiquitous Make blog, thanks to Alan. I think they probably grabbed some of Alan's feed, so thank you to everyone.
I think somebody submitted it to Make from Alan's blog or something like that, something along those lines. Anyway, all these blogs are interconnected and
I know it seems like there's
each other's content.
I mean, I saw a post on Hackaday about the that BeagleBoard calculator we were talking about last time.
Yes, I saw that.
And they were lamenting how they were like the last ones to the party, but they were what, like 2 days behind, and I don't know, maybe the community is not as big as we thought it was, or else it just takes too long to finish projects.
Well, maybe, and there's so many blogs out there. How can you possibly follow them, especially if it's posted on somebody's personal, blog? So it takes. It's like that LinkedIn thing. If you're on LinkedIn, I know we are, but it's like you realise that you're only two people separated from anyone in the industry or something like that.
Yeah. It's like, give Steve Jobs a call on a Tuesday and ask him for a coffee or something.
Yeah, exactly. I'm only one hop away from the Was, I think.
Really?
So,
ooh.
Yeah. So
nice.
There you go.
So everybody should try and friend Dave.
The Was.
Or just try and link up. Our listeners should try and link up with you, and then it'd be two hops away. They could just leapfrog
yeah, exactly.
over to you.
We were only, I think, we were only 1 or 2 hops away from each other. I don't think it's almost impossible to get 3 or 4 hops, isn't it? It's that 5 degrees of separation thing.
Yeah.
It's like, it's all, it's bell curve related, probably,
Yeah.
and sort of, it's very rare to get those outlier, be 4 or 5 people away from someone.
Yeah. Well,
as
it
far
only
as
has limited
connections go.
use anyways. I mean, like, LinkedIn is nice. You can see what people are
Yeah.
doing in industry and stuff, but in the end, it's like, you're not going to just run up and introduce yourself to the WAS or, anyone that's on
exactly.
there. I mean, maybe
I
you
would
will.
like to.
Yeah, I
That'd
mean,
be
maybe.
I'd love to interview the WAS because I'm going to be in the US in October, and I'd love to. Man, if there was some way I could tee up an interview with the WAS, I think that'd be terrific.
Well, you never know. Sometimes you just got to ask. Sometimes you just got to ask.
Exactly. Yes, I might have to do something like that.
Well, maybe another thing we were going to talk about today was the IEEE. I don't know if you're part of that or any professional organization. Maybe you could link up through them too.
Yeah, well, I am a member of the IEEE, and I'm not sure why. Just because I can be, I guess.
Yeah.
I don't really get much value out of it, really. But yes, I am a member. Here in Australia, we have the Institute of Engineers Australia, the IEEE. I think.
Oh,
That's
really?
Right. Yes.
Okay.
Yes, and is it? The IEEE. Yes, and Institute of Engineers Australia, and they're the same thing. Pretty useless. Some people join. Very few engineers actually join it.
Yeah.
I don't know many working engineers who are a member. There's a few certified practicing engineers here in Australia because they like having the wank, title after their name, But
Yeah.
it really doesn't achieve you anything actually in the industry, really. So, yeah, it's just
Well,
one of those,
obviously Dave doesn't
okay.
know that I was on my way to getting my professional degree, but I'm not there yet, so don't worry, Dave. I'm not offended.
That's cool.
Yeah. I don't know. I wonder about how much, it seems like IEEE and the big, engineering organizations, it seems like they're kind of, not outdated, but they're definitely a legacy, where that used to be the only
Yeah.
way you could talk to other engineers, or not the only way, but it was a good way to link up with people. And I just wonder about the viability of them these days. They always promote that, we're so important, but I don't know. I don't know how important they are.
Well, that was actually one of the themes of the Australian documentary, electronics industry documentary I was working on. Were these industry bodies actually relevant anymore? Do they have a purpose, or have they been supplanted by the, just the internet and the communications? The whole internet thing and LinkedIn and everything
Yeah.
else. So.
Well, I think some of the
don't know.
value they
I mean-
add is like the they still do standards, so that kind of stuff's good. It's nice.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
I mean, I don't know why they keep sticking with the 802 dot whatever, but it seems like everything's 802 for. I mean, it's probably just the wireless base standard, but it's nice to have those things so that devices can talk. But in terms of the professional development, I don't know.
I think they should just become like a standards body, and that's probably it. I don't know. It might be different in other countries. I don't know how it is, but here in Australia, no one really gives a toss. So
yeah, and there's local bodies too. I mean, like the Cleveland one they've done some events, and I mean, I got to listen to some cool speakers going to that, so that was cool. But it's not like I'm like chumming up with the local engineers from that, because it's like, well, I'm going to listen to someone speak. So
yeah, exactly. Well, we have the same thing here. The Institute of Engineers, they organise lectures and things occasionally, and they're I've been to one once, and they're pretty dry and boring. But hey, they do organise these these industry events and things like that. So yeah. But I don't know what the future holds for these bodies. I really don't. They'll just organically change with time as they see it, or they might just cling on, to what they've got, and maybe they've got no one in charge who understands the modern way things are done. So I don't know.
Or maybe we're just totally out there being on the internet. Maybe the engineers are actually. Maybe we're just we're the one-off weirdos, and everybody else is
exactly. We could
hanging
be.
out at those meetings.
Yeah, us freaks who have blogs and things.
Yeah, gross.
God,
get a life and go to a meeting.
Exactly. We need to be more restrained, professional, and wear a tie.
Yes,
And, be really. Oh yes, none of this trash talking. products
yes.
and companies and the industry.
Throwbacks to the old days.
Yeah.
Well, that's one of the things. Another thing I wanted to talk about today was the, I talked to you right before we started taping, but the scandal with HP. I don't know if you want to talk about that at all, but the.
I only read a bit about it. Yes, please. HP is one of my favourite topics. I love HP.
I know, and if you don't hear the story yet, basically the CEO got caught, funding or expensing out these dinners with this consultant lady who he's hitting on or something. I don't know what the story is there, but they said there's no it's starting to sound like a tabloid, right? Right,
yeah. That's all right. Let's go there. Let's do it.
Oh yeah. That's the subtext for this blog: engineering, electronics, and intrigue. Anyway,
well, let's cut to the chase. He was after a root. There you go. There's a soundbite for you.
All right. You heard it here first.
Yes, controversial Dave Jones again. There you go. I reckon the I have no idea about the story, but there you go. That's the rumour I'm going to spread, that the former CEO of HP was fishing for a root, as we say here in Australia.
Yeah, I've never heard that one before. That's another...
Okay, well, there you go. Yeah, everyone in the US...
Another bit of Aussie culture, huh? Anyway, so basically...
it was something to do with a female employee.
Yeah,
was it an employee or...
Yeah, it was like a contractor. She was like a social director. Anyways, long and short of it is, he expensed all these dinners he shouldn't have. They didn't really know what's going on, so they tossed him out. And but on the way out, of course, why not give him $35 million on the way out the door? Because that's what I figure would happen if I ever left my job, right? Or you would with yours too, right, Dave?
Yep.
I mean, why wouldn't they just give him a $35 million check for doing something wrong?
Well, that's right, but it's usually to get rid of them quietly. It's that's and because that's the way it's done in big business. It's the golden handshake, the golden parachute. It is. Yeah. It happens in Australia and every other country I've read about. It's just. It's just way the big industry like that works. These companies, they sign these people up. Everyone on the board and the directors, they've all got these deals. So, it doesn't surprise me when somebody gets booted out. In Australia, there's a famous case of Telstra, which is our national telecommunications body. And the head of that, he was only there for, a year or two, and he took he basically took the company down the toilet, and he walked away with his... $30 or $40 million. Thank you very much. And the heads of banks do it all the time. The bank CEOs, some of them get $40, $50 million.
Yeah.
All up for walking away, including options and things. So, geez,
Well, the thing I really want to say about...
if someone was going to pay me $12 million, I'd leave my job too.
I know, you'd go pay for some dinners with some lady, right? I mean...
Exactly.
Yeah. Yeah, but the thing I wanted to say about it, I mean, basically, I don't know if you've ever read about him at all, but I've been reading the biography of the guys that started, Bill and Dave.
Yep, sure. HP way.
Yeah, no, not the HP way. It's
okay.
It's another one, but it's similar. I mean, it quotes the HP way. The HP way is the book that they wrote. That's what.
Yes.
I don't remember if it's Bill or Dave that wrote it, but this is actually more of a biography about how they started the company and they're bringing their products up. And you just read about these guys, and I don't want to say saints, but these guys were awesome. I mean, you read about them and how they ran their company, and man, they got to be rolling. I think they both passed away, but at least one of them did.
They have now, yeah.
Yeah, and they got to be rolling over their graves seeing this kind. I mean, first Carly Fiorina, that lady messed everything up and just put their company on the toilet, and then this guy. I mean, apparently he brought things back, but he's, not exactly the best. The most ethical businessman here, and but you read about the original guys and they're engineers and they're
exactly.
They did their own product design. They brought this company up from nothing. They helped bring Silicon Valley up to what it is today. Basically, they helped bring Stanford up to what it is today. Fred Terman is the guy. He's one of the professors they talk about at Stanford, and those three guys. I mean, they basically helped bring Stanford to where it is today. It's unreal reading about it. And
absolutely. I mean, if you've been to the HP garage in, I don't know if you've been there, but I've got my photo taken in front of the plaque, and it's now a National Historic Monument, the HP garage, and the plaque there, it was the founding place of Silicon Valley. You know, basically they single-handedly, as you said, Bill and Dave and the Stanford guy basically founded Silicon Valley like we know it today. So
it's a great book to read, and it's called Bill and Dave. It's a great book, but you know, you hear about all this stuff now, and you hear about these guys that are, you know, this guy had he was like a business major from some, I don't even know where, but you know, he worked his way up to the company. That's great, working hard, whatever. But then you get to the top, and $30 million just to set foot outside the door, and you know, we wonder why kids don't want to go in engineering these days when, either I can go be a grunt engineer there and, you know, get paid X number of dollars, or I can go, you know, do whatever the hell I want to and walk out the door with a golden parachute. I wonder which one I'm going to do when it comes to time to study. And it's like, you know, we wonder why there's problems these days, and I would point to that as one of them.
Exactly. Well, actually, that raises another interesting point. We'll come back to HP, I think, but as you said, when kids decide what they want to study, that comment there just reminded me that really, I think the best engineers are going to be the ones who already know that that's what they want to do. You know, they don't make the decision. They don't, you know, finish high school and be, you know, they're 17 or whatever, and they go, right, what am I going to do for a living? You know. I've typically found those ones don't make the, you know, those don't turn out to be the good. Some of them do, but you know, on a whole, I think the really good and talented engineer, or the really enthusiastic and passionate engineers, are the ones that, you know, have known they've wanted to do that all their life, and that's what they just do. You know?
Yeah,
Rather
I mean,
they're
looking around.
I'll do engineering because my friend's doing engineering, or my parents want me to do it, or something like that. So
I mean, they're looking around their garage at home or their workshop, and they're like, oh, hey, I work on you know, like the whole maker community. That's why it's so great, because you know that these kids are going to be graduating high school, and maybe even if their math grades aren't that great, they're going to be looking around being like, well, I really enjoy this stuff, and maybe I can get better math grades, or maybe I don't even need to go to university because I've been working on it so much. And
exactly.
That's why the whole movement kind of excites the hell out of me, because, I mean, that hasn't. I mean, there's been you know, ham radio's helped a lot and stuff like that, but man, if it keeps going, it's going to be good. That's going to be really good.
Yeah, it's massive. You know, you got tens of thousands of kids learning to solder these days. You know, it's just incredible. How cool is that? You know,
very cool.
I really didn't picture this 5, 8, 10 years ago. You know, I thought, electronics is a hobby, and we've mentioned this, we've talked about this before, but I thought it was near dead, the last nail in the coffin. But no, geez, it's coming back, and kids seem interested. I just can't believe it. I'm still in shock.
Well,
really.
You know, another thing we had on our list is, and probably relevant to that because of the hobbyist market, is discrete components. And, you know, it's a lot harder if you have to have an SMT reflow machine in your house. Toaster ovens work sometimes, as you could probably find projects online. But what happens if those go away, right? I mean, how long do you think those are going to stick around?
There's no question that the through-hole discrete components are going to be around for at least the next 20 years. You know, they're just going to be around forever, really. I can't see when they're going to die, because there is still a need out there, and the Chinese grey component market just keeps churning them out, because they're still cheap and easy to produce, and they're, you know, easy to assemble, and it's just
that's a good point, because
it's not going to stop.
If you open up a you know, a toy these days, you know, you're not seeing like just a micro or anything like that. You're always seeing, like, you know, you're still going to see a NPN transistor and a couple, you know, probably through-hole resistors on there. And it's actually surprising. I mean, if you haven't opened up a toy in a while, it's actually, I mean, the advanced toys are still pretty, you know, they're interesting to look at, but, you know, like the talking, you know, stuffed animals and stuff like that, those are still pretty simple machines.
Oh yeah, they've got. I've opened up a few of those over the years, and they've just got like a Bakelite PCB. You know, it's not even an FR4. It's the old punched holes.
Yeah,
you know, because it saves 0.1 cents on the cost, and they're through hole, and you know, And
times a million.
It's just incredible. Even if you open a modern TV or something like that, you'll find, all of the power supplies, right?
Yeah, that's right.
Every power supply is all through-hole components.
Yeah, well,
on
that's a power thing too.
single-sided PCB.
Yeah, it's interesting. I sometimes I volunteer with a group around here that actually modifies toys for handicapped children. So you wire in different plugs basically, and then there's like a universal hookup, and that's great because that's how I see a lot of like the lower end toys, and seeing how like the actuators on there and everything. And it's just amazing seeing. You're like, oh, that's it.
Yeah, exactly. I know it's very low tech. Yeah.
Yeah.
There's not much in there, but everyone talks about the demise of discrete components, and it's just not happening. As even evidence like the TI Launchpad, they've brought out there. Yeah. I think I've mentioned this in the blog or somewhere. They've, their new range of TI MSP 430s. They still come in dip packages. Why? Because there's a need for it. There's a need to just either actually do a prototype of something or just, not everyone's going to go to SMD.
And also sometimes when you're, it's a winter day and you're wearing wool socks and you walk over to your launch pad and you zap it, you need to just switch it out real quick. I mean,
yeah, exactly.
That's happened to everyone.
Sockets are important. Yeah, you just whip it out.
That's not
in a new one. And no, through-hole components. No, anyone who says through-hole components are going away, no, they have no idea.
Yeah, I mean it's tough because a lot of the fancy ones are and the actual SMT components that are out there, they keep getting smaller. But what are you going to do about that? I mean, you're not going to even if you have a reflow machine at your house, like Adafruit, they have that in their office, right? They have a reflow there.
Yeah.
And but they're not doing BGA there because then you need like X-ray and you need to be able to line it up real well.
Exactly, it becomes a pain in the ass. Yeah.
Yeah, so
there's BGAs and chip scale packages and all those sort of flip chips and all those sort of things. They're designed for high volume, mass produced, items that you spend a fortune setting up and getting those right. And unfortunately, a lot of specialized custom chips these days are only available in surface mount packages. That's a big problem in the industry. If you're trying to do if you're trying to make 100 of something, and the chip's only available in a micro BGA, then you're pretty much screwed.
Yeah, well, it kind of points towards another market that's kind of opening up too, where there's like these quick turn board. Like we talked about that a little bit last time about board houses that'll not only make your board but populate them. But that's just going to have to be more of a reality now, where you have to just have someone do it for you, because what else are you going to do about it?
Well, exactly. I mean, if I had to design in a micro BGA or a large BGA FPGA into a high design, I'm not going to get a toaster oven at home and do it myself. I'm just going to go and pay someone $50 or $100 to load the first prototype up.
Yeah, and it's worth it to pay that. I mean, that's almost like paying for quality there. Well, not necessarily quality, but you're paying someone to take that risk off your hands in that case, because you need to make toast the next day. Or
exactly, and and I don't want to waste $500 chips. Some of these BGA, if you've got a big FPGA or something, it can be $100 for the chip, $500 for the chip, even. So you really don't want to be doing a trial and error thing to try and get that right. You want to give it to someone who's done thousands of them. So no contest at all.
Yeah, it's interesting like how you were talking about with that, the $100 FPGA. And you and I were talking a little bit before the show about the, just the span of electronics and how far it goes from the, I'm not touching $100. You can get like $600 FPGAs these days. Like the
you can get ones that cost $2,000 if you're
that's
really
ridiculous.
That. I know, it's crazy.
Who does that? I mean, military probably, whatever.
Yeah, very specialized military applications
FPGA,
or specialized industrial
CSP.
Applications where, you've got $2,000 chips on the board and the board's worth more than a car,
Yeah.
But that happens. There's a niche industry out there for that. So.
Oh yeah. And but it's just interesting to see how far it spans, because you look at a lot of your viewers on EEV blog are hobbyists, but you'll also get people that are they're working on the $2,000 FPGAs, and just kind of like how how does like there's some people that are seeing stuff that you and I probably will never ever fathom, like
absolutely.
Some of the top end stuff. Yeah.
And there's people who's doing ASIC design and things like that. So,
I don't know, the high speed things too. I mean, like the reason I brought a lot of this up is because you ever seen current feedback op amps before?
Oh yes, yep.
Yeah, I mean, like that's the kind of part that I was really interested when I first learned about it, because it's most op amps are voltage feedback, and those are the kinds that you see every day that all the standard equations for, but then you start looking at current feedback ones, and you're just like, whoa, what's going on here? Why are they doing this? And it's actually for speed, and it's just this whole. I mean, I work in analog stuff, but that's just a whole section that I've never seen because I work on the slower side of analog before. So when I started looking at these things, it was just like, well, this is really cool, but I don't really need this right now. So.
Well, that's right. I mean, I can remember my job that I had. I started, it was 12 years ago or so. Well, no, it was longer than that. It was about 15 years ago now.
Oh, wow.
And my first day on the job was I had to troubleshoot a charge amplifier. And it's like, what? I kind of understand the concept of a charge amplifier, but I've never had to design one. I've never used one. I've never, I really had no clue. So it's just one of those more obscure things that not everyone, actually, you can't possibly have experience in absolutely everything. It's just impossible.
Well, what did you do 15 years ago, there was no Wikipedia. So what were you doing back then to kind of pick out where to start? I mean, where did you start with that kind of thing? Because I've run into that, and I know that people listening to this have probably run into that before. But I think the de facto standard today might be, type it into Google, type it into Wikipedia.
Exactly, it's easy.
Yeah.
No, back in the pre-communications
prehistoric
days, I just had the books on my shelf. That was it, So I'd have to reference those, or I'd go and ask somebody, can you explain this circuit? Or I had to find another product which used that particular circuit and see if they had any, technical reference manuals or something like that, which should explain the circuit operation. And you could spend days just hunting down and explain, or even a circuit diagram for what a charge amplifier did. So
it's kind of amazing that the like people wonder about like we talked last time about like product life cycles and how it's getting a lot faster and everything, but you think about that element right there. I mean, if you're cutting days off your investigation period, I mean, of course they're going to want it faster. Type it into Google. Exactly. Doesn't it pop? You should just have a product pop out the other side, right? I mean,
it's totally different. Well, back then, right, you would have, the company would, even at home here, I would have hundreds of data books, hundreds of application notebooks, textbooks, and dozens of them. So you could just walk in there and browse for hours, and you'll probably eventually find something that'll lead you onto something else. And they sort of had hyperlinks in the books, so to speak. They would say, go and see application note AN56, so you'd, I think I've got that somewhere. So you'd find another book which just had all the application notes in it, and you'd go and, flick through that, and you'd eventually find it, hopefully.
Yeah, I mean, it's amazing today that, like, now we have message. I mean, we got, like, your forum. There's another shout-out might be for Chip Hacker. That's one of the forums that I'm on. It's actually like a Stack Overflow style. I don't know if you've ever been on Stack Overflow. Yeah, I've seen that, Yeah, and so there's a lot of cool resources out there, and to the point where you can almost just go out and ask people, ask these communities that, man, probably didn't have that 15 years ago, other than calling your neighbor or calling someone else that you might know in another company, right?
Yeah, exactly. Or you just did the legwork and did it yourself,
Yeah.
And you'd eventually find it. You'd just bluff your way through until you found the required info you had. But the forums these days are amazing. You can ask any question and almost get an instant answer.
Yeah.
To anything. It's it isn't just our industry. It's anything at all, really. So
yeah, and I guess a little self plug there would be if you have any questions for us, there's you can always ask them on the new theamphour.com site or the EEV blog forums. Those are always pretty active too. So little self plug there.
Yes, if you got questions you want us to answer, like an Ask an Engineer type thing, then
just a little less live.
Yes, exactly. It's not
slower.
quite as live. Although, I can see maybe eventually this radio show in the future morphing into sort of a live, maybe we'd have, people on live who can join in, or we might have a chat forum live,
true.
where something like that. But yeah, I don't know. It's working in its current format, so we'll stick to that for now.
Yeah.
But yep, happy to answer questions.
Yeah, so that's good. What about, another question I had was about open source tools. That's another thing that might not have been as prevalent 15 years ago. Do you ever do any open source software tools or anything like that?
No, I really haven't worked on any of those open source projects. I'm too busy working on my own stuff to contribute to, open source projects. But yeah, things like the Bus Pirate and stuff like that are really quite neat. It's you've got to watch out for those open source tools because often they will get too many cooks spoil the broth and all those sort of sayings. So yeah, it's just not as focused a tool as it could be if just one person with a great idea actually just implements it themselves. So there are exceptions to that. There are good products, excellent open source products out there, but there are others that are just try to be a jack of all trades and don't really cut it for some niche use you might need it for. So
yeah, well, I mean, there are some good examples like MakerBot. I mean, that's more hardware side too, but there is a software component.
The MakerBot.
But I mean, open source hardware might be. I mean, you talked about open source hardware before about your unnamed project of unknown origin, but
oh yeah, I've released a couple of open source projects. Well, everything on my website is open source, basically. It's just it didn't really have a name back then. I was putting
it's just free.
I was putting projects on my website, 12, 15 years ago. It's not in the mid 90s I had my website up there and I was putting project information on there and
I love finding
really invented then.
Old websites. I love finding the old ones like on StumbleUpon, if you ever use that, where you can just click through and find these these pages that they honestly look like they're from early 90s with the dancing baby and everything like that.
Oh yes, that's what mine are pretty much like. All of my old sites are pretty embarrassing, but
well, I mean, it's not a big deal. It's all about the information.
The info's there, and I still get they're indexed on Google, and I get massive number of hits on them. It's just phenomenal.
Oh yeah. Yeah, I mean, because in the end, it's just about getting the data there. I mean, I found one that it was just a couple transistor projects that were real fun to play with. Just a single transistor project where you're just making a buzzer or anything else. Just current source, and it's great to see those kind of things because you figure that was probably photocopied and passed around before that, and before that it was just other engineers were passing it to you or other hobbyists. So. It's fun to find those kind of pages, even if they are a little as embarrassing as you said.
Well, but that's the thing. I mean, with Google indexing everything, you can type in your I want a transistor current source. You type that in, and bingo. It might find someone's little page. It doesn't have to be on Wikipedia or something like that. It can if you've got good you can have really good content just on one page with one circuit.
Yeah. Well, what else do we have on the agenda today, Dave? Do you have anything else?
Well, I actually wanted to go back and visit the HP thing. Because, I mean, you seem to be quite shocked about this whole HP golden parachute thing. Is that golden handshake? Is it that unusual in the US for someone to get something like that?
No, I think we invented it here.
Right. Okay, there you go.
I mean, I'm not shocked by it in any uncertain terms because you see it every day. But I think it's the contrast of HP. I mean, my own experience about reading about it recently, and just their begin. They were pretty humble beginnings. I mean, they were.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
I was even reading about the first product they came out with today. I don't remember how I got to it, but it was I was reading about oscillators today, and that was one of the first HP products, the 200A.
It was the 200A, the famous 200A. Yep.
Yep, and I mean, you read about that, and it's obviously back then that was a really big deal back then. But I mean, you look at it today, and just it's it's an oscillator. Yeah, that's really cool. I mean, it's a good bit of history, but you think about how small the electronics industry was back then, and how I don't know if you ever heard about when they were making their boards. I forget if it was Bill or Dave. They were setting the boards in his wife's oven. They were using her oven.
Oh,
to help.
yes, that's right.
I mean, like, and then
they've actually still got that oven in the house. If you actually go to the house there, yeah, I believe so.
Wow. I mean, like, and then you fast forward. What has it been, like 70 some years, and now you got some. I don't know. I don't want to swear. I don't want to swear.
Come on.
Yeah, I was gonna say I don't want to swear too much on air, but
then I'll do it for you. Some dickhead wanker.
Yeah. And and it's just it's tough to see that kind of thing because, I mean, a lot of HP is a monstrous company by now. They split off in Agilent. They split off into, I think. I don't know if they were Cree. I think that might have been their lighting division, but they split off a couple times too, and it's just rough for seeing that kind of thing these days. I mean,
I was devastated when Agilent split off and they lost the HP name, because as far as I'm concerned, I don't give a toss about HP the company anymore, because they're not the ones who they aren't the traditional test equipment company. It's Agilent, so I only really care about Agilent these days. I couldn't give a shit what HP do, really.
And I have no comment about Agilent.
They apart from them having the name and they're trashing the name through doing God knows what. But I was devastated that when the computer division of HP, the printers and all that, got the HP name and the test gear, was forced to change to Agile. I still call them HP. I don't know about anyone else, but I find it hard to transition to the Agilent name. I'm getting more and more used to it. What is it, 10 or 12 years later or something?
Yeah.
At least, I think. I think it's about 10 years. But, it's one of those things. But
I mean, you're right, though. It's like HP is, now it's all like, made in China. I mean, we talked about Foxconn last time. They're one of the companies that uses a lot of Foxconn labor to, just make their crappy little mice and... make their better products too. Don't get me wrong. I mean, they're making good products too.
HP make good products,
Yeah, and but it becomes this behemoth of, not cutting corners, but cutting people. Like this guy Mark Hurd, the one that just got fired, the CEO. I mean, like that's what he was known for, is basically cutting people. And I mean, like,
oh right, yeah,
like when it gets to that size, you kind of question. It's such a big thing to move that, like, of course no one's going to question the getting $30 million a year in salary, because you're never going to see that. If you're working in HP even as a top level engineer or even a top level manager at a division, you're never seeing that guy. I mean, you're never seeing anybody. So
no, of course not.
Yeah, that's more of a corporate culture than it is a engineering culture, and I guess it just stings a little bit because I have been reading about it. So I think that's really where it all stems from. Yeah,
well, have HP lost the HP way? I mean, that's one of the questions.
Is a good question.
If you haven't read the book, The HP Way is the name of the book, written by Bill and I think it was only written by Bill or only by Dave, but
I think it was Dave.
Basically describes their management technique. And HP are not only famous for the test gear, but they're famous for inventing the management technique, the MB, what is it?
Management by walking around.
Management by walking around, and basically, it involves the head honcho just walking around, going to talking, to the guy on the shop floor, on the production line. Hey, how's it going? You got any problems? Tell me direct.
Shake hands. Yeah. What's bothering you these days? Yeah. I mean, it's brilliant, and I mean, they're engineers, so that helps. Bonus.
Well, that's right, and and when companies get as big as HP do, well, they don't bring in engineers to run it anymore. They the entire board, they might be token engineers, but they've never actually, probably never designed anything, or they're just, full time, they're just, just managers and MBAs and everything else. So
reading about that stuff with the business side of thing, it's one of my favorite things. Reading about that was they. One of their big things was they always had a beer bust on Fridays, and then I think it was just Fridays, and then they always had coffee time where like the bell would ring, and at 10 o'clock, no matter what, everybody goes and grabs some coffee and a donut, and eventually they got rid of the donuts when people started worrying about weight and stuff. And it's brilliant though, because then you go and you talk to your coworkers even in a calm manner, like when you're not like stressing over a project, and that not only makes you bond to your coworkers, but you're probably going to get talking about work at some point, and it might tip off a different part of your brain that it wasn't active before. So I don't know. I guess I look up to the guys, just from my short amount of research in them, and that's why it really got to me, I think.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I was actually I was thinking about, while I'm in the US, I thought maybe I can get a tour of the HP garage. I've been there, but it's always locked. It's not open for public access. So
really?
I was hoping that with my newfound EEV blog fame, maybe they will give me a tour, and I can take everyone through the HP garage. So
that'd be pretty cool.
That was I haven't I've done nothing about that apart from think about doing it. So I might have to contact HP and see if that's actually possible. So if anyone knows who to contact there, who to talk about, to getting access to the HP garage and the HP house, then yes, please do. Please send me an email, because I'd love to get a tour of it. That'd be awesome.
If you ignore the bad things we've been saying about this guy, I mean, hell, we just given 20 minutes of airtime to talking about HP, so maybe they owe you. I don't know. I don't know how this radio / podcast thing works. I'm guessing we're probably not owed anything, but
no, probably not. I think we're. I'll probably get slapped with a cease and desist letter from their lawyers for
talking about us,
for saying the guy was after a bit of nookie. So there you go. Completely unfounded accusation on my part, but I don't give a toss. I'm in Australia.
Yeah, come get me.
Yep, sue me. What are they going to do?
Well,
there you go. I'll have to read more into that, because I love those sort of scandals when, we had a same scandal here in Australia just recently. There's a $30 million sexual harassment lawsuit. Wow. I think $35 million. Some woman who worked for David Jones, believe it or not me, but the actual department store of the same name. Yeah, they're a huge, prestigious department store here in Australia. And this is not electronics related, of course, but it's a good story. And he liked to be touchy-feely with the female co-workers, and one of them took offence to it. And it's front page news of all the newspapers. The David Jones CEO was forced to step down. Yeah. And I'm sure he got his golden parachute too. It was probably 10 or 15 million bucks or something as well. But he stood down, and now it's all a huge scandal, and it's
Well, maybe we should have a little PSA here, a little public service announcement. Attention, dudes! This is not the 50s. Move on with your life and stop doing that. You will get sued.
Exactly.
Because that was the same thing that happened at HB. That actually it was a sexual harassment suit that kind of broke the whole thing open, because that's public record. And,
okay.
And that's actually what tipped it all off, I think. So, yeah.
Right.
Come on, guys. 2010.
Exactly. Get with the program.
Yeah.
Those women are more powerful than you are, dude. Just learn to live with it. With the female CEOs and everything these days, we had a female CEO at our company. It's just so common these days.
It's a good thing too.
Yeah, it's great. Certainly not the 1950s. That's for sure.
Yeah. Well, I know there's absolutely no segue here, but the thing I really wanted to talk about was human interface kind of stuff, and you and I had talked about that with the there was a story about the MSP 430 watch.
Yeah.
On Hackaday, I think, and how they're what was it that was doing? It was
they converted it into a mouse, which is like, okay, so it's got an accelerometer into it. It makes sense. I don't know what the big deal was. It's it hooks up. It simulates a mouse, and you wave your hand around, I guess, and you can actually. I think you can actually click. So if you go like that, that's the mouse click.
Huh.
So
that's pretty cool.
It's that's kind of neat. So.
I think that's a really big field that's kind of still emerging. Is like accelerometers are there obviously, and you got pressure sensors and temperature sensors. But like what is? You think about we're still using keyboards right now. You and I are using microphones obviously, but what? There's no detection in these microphones. Nothing's we're not flipping any switches with this, and it's been around,
exactly.
what do you think the future is? I mean, like I don't know what it's going to be, but
well, everyone's talking about voice recognition. They've been talking about voice recognition for 30 years or something like that. I played with a voice recognition chip back in the early 80s. You know, it could recognise 20 different words, and where's it come? Well, it's come a fair way. They're reasonably accurate these days, but it still hasn't found its way into anything, and I don't think it will for quite a long time. There's just too much variability.
I know, yeah. I mean, like even look at you and me and how I say Aussie.
Yeah, exactly. And,
yeah, I mean, I doubt there would be a chip that could possibly discern what the hell you're saying. I mean,
well, there's not. If you go to YouTube, you can turn on the closed captions, and it automatically tries. Yeah, it automatically tries to recognise your voice, and it does a horrible job with my Australian accent. So you'll see subtitles. I didn't put those subtitles there. You can turn on the closed caption thing, and it just talks gibberish.
That sounds like a fun game.
It's absolutely hilarious to watch it try and interpret my Aussie voice.
Maybe we can get someone to try and post a transcript of that sometime and see if you say. I mean, even when you're saying
somebody did on the forum, I think somebody's actually posted some screenshots and stuff like that, and I just that's awesome. It's hilarious what it comes out with. It's just.
Yeah.
Unbelievable. But yeah, like, you know, nobody wants to sit there and train their new product with their voice, and then, it won't recognise you if you're upset or stressed or whatever.
Yeah,
you know, it's just not going to work. You know, that's why the keyboard is still around, you know?
Yeah.
And it will be for, God, you know, the foreseeable future, which is, 10 or 20 years at least. Yeah. I think it'll be around for the next 100, probably. The keyboard is always so good.
Got to get it in there somehow. You got to get text in, right? I mean, so.
Yep, and you want it 100% accurate. You know, you don't want to be dicking around.
Obviously, you've never seen my typing.
That if you suck at typing, or you're an engineer and you can't spell,
Yesterday, What was yesterday?
Oh, sorry, I was just going to say the famous line. Forget it.
Error between.
Let's not go there.
The error between desk and chair.
And then I couldn't spell engineer, and now I are one or something like that. So,
man.
Engineers can't spell, which is the classic stereotype.
Yeah, not as big an issue these days as spell check, but I mean the interface thing. I mean, I don't know. I see it going a couple places, but yeah, I guess you're right about the speech to text kind of thing. That, I mean, you think about it, if they ever did perfect that. I mean, not even perfect it. If they got a little better. And then you get like Google. I mean, I don't know if you ever tried Google Translate before.
Yes, I have. Yeah,
that's pretty great. I think. I mean, for what it is,
it works
it's pretty
well. Yeah.
And I mean, you combine those two, and basically you have a universal translator. Now, I mean, you don't want to use it at the UN and discussing like some kind of war sanctions, but
exactly.
That's still pretty cool. I mean, I made a list a couple years back about like inventions that I think, would change the world, and that's definitely one of them. I mean, you think about people getting on the same page for language. Yep. That's definitely one of them. So I mean, you combine those things.
I totally agree. Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know the one thing I did see last week. I don't know if you saw it was you ever heard of Waterloo Labs?
Oh yes, I have.
Those guys down in Austin. They actually there was a bunch of views on it, and it was on all the boards too about the iMario, where they hooked up like I think instrumentation amps to people's eye sockets, and they could
really.
Yeah, and They detected which way their eyeballs were looking based on the polarity it was flipping. Apparently, your eyes have send some kind of synaptic response there, and and basically, I didn't get a chance to watch the video yet, but basically they can control Mario with their eyes, and you look up, it jumps, and you look left and right, and he goes left and right. Yep. And I mean, so maybe that might be another way to interface to people, but. It's still
they're doing that optically now, aren't they? You don't actually have to attach sensors. You can actually get face, software which you can stare into a webcam, and you can move your eyes, and it can move a robot or something like that. So it's
that's not quite. I mean, because you get eye jitter then too, but like when it's like a really the thing that's nice is it desensitizes it because then when you mean to look left, you're looking left, whereas if you're staring at something straight on, your eyes are always jittering too. So you got to get that. You got to get that out too, but I don't know. So that might be another way to. I don't know. There's the accelerometers right now, and maybe you can count that, but
yeah, gyroscopes and accelerometers are big, and there's all these user interface. They're always going to be niche. I don't think any one thing is just going to take over the world. It's just, it's just not really possible. There's just so many permutations and combinations of things that you have to do out there, ways you have to interact with a product or a computer or something like that. And it's just, there's no universal solution, I don't think.
Which is good for us, too, because, then we, have jobs. So
yeah, well, exactly.
Not necessarily human interface, but, if there weren't niche-y little places where people could work on electronics, I don't think I'd have a job, and I don't know about you.
No, I probably wouldn't either. That's right.
Yeah, so, in that regard, it's good that, there are not just one solution for electronics, and that'd be boring anyways.
Oh, yes, it would. But, I find the whole user interface field quite fascinating. I'm laying out boards, I'm constantly thinking, I'm laying out boards and I'm using the mouse and I'm using the keyboard and I'm, a very complex operation,
Yeah.
I'm always thinking, how could you simplify something like that? I've got it all up in my head, the layout of the board and what I want, and it's all flowing out, and I've got to translate that into key presses and mouse clicks and drags and...
and plus now you have 15 years of experience doing it that way, so then you have to try and break away from that
right.
too. Yeah, it's a tough. Go ahead.
Yeah, but you see in the movies like Avatar. I don't know if you've seen Avatar.
Yeah,
I'm sure you have.
Yes, I have.
Yeah, how they have their, everyone made a big to-do about all the big touch panels they had and stuff like that. I think there's a big future there. Because I would. I can picture myself, like when I'm laying out a board, for example, like sitting at a large glass table and just doing hand gestures. I want to drag that part over there and doop, doop, all that sort of, that was hand gestury kind of stuff.
Minority Report, you ever see that movie with Tom Cruise?
Oh,
too?
Yes. Yeah.
I think that was like a big one where they did that too. And I saw that, Microsoft actually made a table that did that at one point. But it was really clunky, where like you could put a camera down on it and then it would like kind of like fan out all the pictures and you could throw them all over the table and everything. And all these great ideas.
I don't know, was it Smart Table or something like that, or something they call it, Smart Canvas or something they call it? I don't know.
But it's just so expensive.
I think that's where a huge future is there.
Yeah. And you see it too in the, the chip market. Like, anytime you talk to a chip vendor these days, they're like, oh, can I tell you about my capacitive touch sensor and blah, blah, blah. And it's like, well...
Oh, yeah.
I don't really care. Sorry.
Oh, really? I think they're very cool.
They're cool. But...
I think I can see 5 years down the track, every PIC and every AVR and every other microcontroller on the market is going to have a capacitive touch sensor interface.
No.
Because,
I don't think so.
They're really pretty cool.
I don't doubt that.
Much as I like a nice good push button switcher, a nice knob, I can really see the future in the capacitive touch sensor interface for sure.
Well, I don't doubt there's a future, and it is cool. I don't want to backtrack on what I said and let you win here, but I don't think that I don't think that they're I don't think it's going to be useful enough to the tiny little market, like that kind of stuff, that it's going to be useful. And even like you, I just think that they're going to be everywhere, but they're still going to be niche-y, Like, I don't think they'll be everywhere. Just because even if you have a tiny AVR or a MSP 430, it's still pretty intensive to get all that information back out and then, use that as your interface device. So,
it kind of is, but I'm even now when I do a new project, I'm thinking, right, it needs some switches on the front panel. Well, they're going to cost 5 or 10 cents a pop. And if I need a few of them, well, my chip comes with a capacitive touch sensor interface. Why don't I use that? It's so I'm always sort of thinking there. How can I actually lower the system costs there? And that's one of the ways. Because you have to design your PCB anyway. So if somehow you can add in a switch for free, then why not?
Are you talking about the switches where you actually just you do it in the trace, where you have that?
You do it in the trace in the PCB, yeah.
Okay. I thought you were talking about the LCD, because, that makes a lot of sense, right? I thought you were talking about, like, the LCD cap touch, where you have, like, the whole
no. That's an entirely different concept, really.
Yeah, that's great then, because then it's just integrated in the board. That's smart.
Oh, yeah, it's fantastic. I think there's a huge market there for that. And so do all the vendors, because they're all coming out with almost every micro on the market now has a cap touch sensitive cap interface. So
okay. I was talking
Going
about
great guns.
the discrete chips. Have you ever seen? That's what I was talking about with the vendors talking to me about it. Like they're always like, oh well, we have this LCD sensor chip basically, and that's what I was talking about before. So
Right.
different wavelengths, I guess. Different wavelengths.
Yep, absolutely. There you go. And we've got the Skype thing here where we can't.
Oh
Where
yeah.
if we talk over each other, it just sort of dies on us, which is really quite annoying.
Yeah. Well, any other?
I'm sure you guys can't hear it at your end, but yeah, if we talk over each other, we can't hear, and that actually distracts our train of thought, and yes, and we get lost sometimes.
Yes, we do. Any other interface devices you see on the horizon? You got Cap Touch. You got maybe vision tracking.
Yeah, the
accelerometer.
accelerometers, the gyroscopes, they're huge. Everyone's doing that nowadays, so you can, shake a product, and everyone's coming up with these new concepts. You've got your accelerometer, you might shake something, or the new TI watch, as we said, you would actually click like that, and that would simulate the mouse click. Which is kind of neat, but it's not very practical, I guess. And, but those things have been around for 30, 40 years. The old lamp, the bedside lamp where you clap.
Oh, yeah, the clapper,
on, God knows how many decades they've been around for. But, yeah, I think people are going to keep coming up with these, great user interface ideas. And, well, some of them are just going to be, neat concepts, but they're not very practical. But
the one you've been seeing for the past 30 years, like the heads-up display. I don't know how many times I've seen a brand new heads-up display, and
exactly,
and then it's like, well, where'd it go, guys? I'm waiting.
Exactly, they've been around for 40 years at least. I think.
Yeah, I saw that there was one guy that he made that might have been a Hackaday or someone like that. It was talking about he had a whole computer and then he made his own heads-up display with it, where you could actually he looked like uber nerd, but it was awesome, where he had a keyboard across his chest like a bandolier. And then it is, but that he had that, so maybe that's the future. Maybe it'll be in your glasses, guys.
Exactly. Well, I think there's a big future in these virtual keyboards. Have you seen these? Where out of a mobile phone, they actually project a keyboard onto the desk, and you just it's got a little camera and it watches where your fingers go, and you can put a keyboard anywhere. Up on a wall, on your desk, on the floor. Doesn't matter.
That's using the Pico projectors. I was talking to someone on, I think Chip Hacker, about that, because there's a development. You can get $350. You can get a TI development kit where it actually talks like VGA or HDMI or something, and it'll actually project it for you. And it's only 7 lumens, so it's kind of faint.
Right.
But I mean, that's pretty cool. I mean,
that is very cool.
I mean, you talk about say you have your Android smartphone and you're hanging out with your buddies and you're like, hey, let's watch a movie, and you plop your phone on the table and you just kind of start projecting on this. You start projecting on the screen. That's pretty cool.
That is awesome. Yeah,
I do see a market for digital graffiti. Set up one of those things somewhere and project some lewd images up on a wall.
I've seen that. Yeah, that's and you can express yourself and leave nothing behind. It's
except a $600 smartphone.
I could really get into that sort of thing. It's just great. There's so many ideas, so many time. So much cool stuff to work on, and well, let's segue to that. We're out of time. I think we've done our hour, haven't we?
We are. Yeah, our AMP hour, I guess.
We have to live up to our name. The AMP hour, there you go, is the new name for the show, and so we'll call it quits. It's been a good one, I think, Chris, as usual.
Yeah, we meandered a little bit, but I think we got through everything we wanted to. I just want to remind everyone, there's a suggestions tab on the amphour.com right now, and if you are HP or Cree or anyone else and you're listening, there is an advertising tab as well, which is underutilized at the moment, and we'll see how that goes.
Yeah, absolutely. We might even be able to make a buck from it. But anyway,
not holding my breath.
Yes, exactly. And and also feedback on the format of the show too. I mean, I think we covered a lot of stuff today. I think
we did.
There was 4 or 5, half a dozen different things we talked about. If you like that sort of random format, or do you prefer just to cover 1 or 2 topics and keep it simpler? Let us know.
Yeah, and also the site design. We already got some good feedback from the EEV blog forum, but I just worked up some CSS crap and it's not the best. I'm not a designer, not a graphic designer at least. So if you got any feedback, if anything doesn't look right or it's not rendering right, just leave that in the comments too, and I'll try and fix it.
Absolutely. Well, thanks for listening, everyone, and we'll see you next time.
Yeah, thanks a lot.